Selma, Alabama, to the people of Minnesota, the people are crying out, I can't breathe. From a corner in New York City to the streets of Atlanta, the people just protest, I can't breathe. Dad, for the win. Dad, for the win. The revolution will be live.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is Eric from Dads for the Win, and I have Adrian here with me tonight because we have a show that's hopefully gonna just open some eyes and just get some things started. Okay. But before I get into introducing the topic for tonight, let me come from Psalms 34:4 for these fathers, these dads who are going through, these fathers, these dads who just need an uplift. I sought the Lord and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. All right. I take that to mean basically sometimes going before a judge, sometimes we're going for before a master, whatever state that you're in, can be a little frightening. Okay, frightening because we don't know what to expect. However, it doesn't have to get that far. Okay, and tonight's show is called A Mother's Perspective of Custody and Child Support. Okay, a mother's perspective of custody and child support. The reason why I wanted to title this A Mother's Perspective, because we talk about dads, we talk about what's going on with them. However, sometimes we never get the female's perspective. And yes, we have my wife Adrian here with us tonight to give us some insight, okay, to give us her perspective as we did one time before. And now it's up to the wider society here in Maryland and other states who can listen to this show right about now. So let me jump right into it. All right. This whole situation of custody and child support, let's say it right now, here in Maryland is almost a sham. All right. I found myself yesterday sending an email at 11 o'clock at night to the delegates, to the county executives of Baltimore County, Howard County, and Mayor Brandon Scott. Okay. Because the issue, what's going on here in Maryland is sort of it is a travesty. And they got the email from me because I wrote to the Maryland courts here out in Annapolis. I wrote to the administrative judges because I asked for a sit down or face to face or a telephone call, and they sent me back a email denying me. If you want to see the email that was sent, just send me a link or a text message and with your email address, and I'll forward it to you. But like I said, it doesn't have to get that far sometimes. Here in Baltimore City and probably other counties, there's a programs that work with fathers and mothers, whereas you can put in your own order. Okay. I've gone through it twice. However, I'm sorry for my case. She didn't want to abide by it, so I took it to the courts. Okay. Now, sometimes you don't have to take it that far. There are some mothers who are actually good with just saying, you don't really need to be on child support. you don't. We can just work this out amongst us, and Adrian can go a little bit deeper with that. So basically, it's all in the communication. It's all in the, I'm gonna say, the respect for one another. Um, Before I go any further, Adrian, got anything you want to say?
First of all, let me say good evening. Second of all, I need all my friends and family to call in or just to comment. Basically, what are your views about child support? Some people feel like it's not worth it. It's not worth their time to go downtown and file for child support. Um, it works sometimes for some people as far as co-parenting. What are your views? I know for me, co-parenting work better. I just don't believe in going downtown and having someone else to dictate to me what my kids are worth. For some people, it does work. If you can come to an agreement, then that's fine. If you can't, then I think that's great. So, what do you think?
All right. Now, from my perspective, um, I tried to do it two ways. Okay, when I say I tried to do it two ways, I tried the way of working it out. Tried the way of just having it work out for us. I still have the the I'll say the order that was drawn up for just mediation from mediation. However, when we went back to court, the judge in the case tried to overturn it. I mean, which he did a good part of. However, I won the opportunity, let me say, to appeal the entire situation. So Baltimore City courts have up until the 10th to get my 3 volume folders to the Maryland Court of Special Appeals so they can go over it. Now, like I said, there's a place on Greenmount Avenue here in Baltimore where they can allow parents to talk about it. They can allow parents to work it out. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes that can't happen. All right. So basically, you have to go to court. Okay. Now, I'm going to throw out two things that's very important. One, you can make your own custody or child support agreement. Okay. You do not have to have the court make it for you. It's in the Maryland family law. You, the parents can work it out. Okay. You don't have to have the courts do it. The parents can talk it out. Y'all can go to a room. Y'all can discuss everything how you want it and just come up with an agreement. Also, you can go through mediation, work it out that way, and just have it there so everybody can be happy. All right? Not just him, not just you, the child or the children as well. So, mothers, the phone lines are open 443 267 6558. Again, that's 443 267 6558. Once again. Now, I'm going to say this, okay? There are a lot of fathers out here doing the right thing. There are a lot of mothers who see that they're doing the right thing and they feel like they shouldn't be on this, okay? So basically, you can call the courts, you can ask for a hearing to say, I don't think this should be happening, okay? You can basically say, hey, my child's father doesn't need to be on this, okay? And I'm saying this is something that can be done because my spouse, my co person for this show, Adrian, has done it. Okay, so mothers, you can. Okay, it's not always that it has to go through the courts. Okay, and let's be real. Sometimes y'all still have feelings. Okay, so the way you can get back is try to hit his pockets. Okay, I'm sorry to say that's how it is. All right. But I'm not going to say have fathers feel like that's the only thing. Let's be realistic, and I like to say it all the time. Some of you fathers are grimy. Some of you fathers don't do when you're supposed to. Some of you fathers, I really be thinking, what are you doing? You can have children or a child by someone else, but be living with somebody else and doing for their children or their child, and you will stay by the wayside. All right, can't do that. Your child is a part of you. Your child came from is I like to say it like this: there are 46 chromosomes, 23 from her, 23 from you. No, I'm serious. Okay, so basically, how can you give up your seed? How can you give up your rights as a father to your child to go do something with somebody else? All right. Okay. Granted. All right. The situation may not work, and she may try to treat you as dirty as she can. Okay. Or let's be real, you've probably have done something for her to treat you dirty. All right. However, it's something called growth. It's something called get out of your own way. It's yes, Adrian. It's something called just turn to him. All right. Um, because and I'm gonna say it like this. I had to do that. All right. I was always going back and forth with her, and I forgot about that young man. Okay. What was most important for her to be the right mother who I thought she should be, or to constantly be there for him, show him the right way, show him what a young man was supposed to be about and was supposed to grow into. All right. Let me say this. Yes, I did things too harsh. I don't say too harsh, but
No, that was right. That was right.
all right, too harsh for my son at the time. Okay. Remember, we were living in a one bedroom apartment. His bed was on one side, my bed was on the other. Okay. I sort of had him grow up too fast. Okay. Even though he wanted to start ironing his own clothes, I should have, and Adrian will tell you, I should have released some of that pressure on him and let him be a child. But
I wouldn't say that. I mean, kids need responsibility. And you do have to prepare them for when you're not there. Suppose something happened, they need to know how to get themselves together. It's called just taking care of self care. Because at some point in time, you have to kind of let their hand go and let them do. However, I won't say you had him growing up too fast. I think when you finally realized you were trying to protect him from becoming you, but realizing there was nothing wrong with you. However, I guess it's a little different for me because I feel like in my house, kids come over my house. It's like Chuck E. Cheese. It's where kids can be a kid can be a kid, and you had to adapt to that. You weren't used to noise. I grew up around noise. This is their house. This is their sanctuary. This is where they're supposed to be free. You came into our lives and you were very militant. And you remember what I told you? What?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
So I ain't running no boot camp up in here. St. Military. We ain't living like that. Now, I meet you halfway on some things, and we did, and it worked for us because our parenting style is different. However, it brings balance. But I don't run my house like a boot camp. I have an open line of communication with my kids, and we can talk about every and anything. However, I don't think what you were doing was wrong because there's no book on how to be a parent. You do the best you can with what you have, but it's not a lot of room for error. However, when you recognize that you've kind of like messed up or you didn't do some things right, once you know better, then you do better. And it's all about communicating with your child. We grew up from that era. Don't do as I, what is it?
Don't do as I say do. Don't do as I do. Don't do as I say do.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Thanks, Rob.
And I mean, I'm supposed to be your role model. I'm your hero. So say for instance, if I'm smoking cigarettes and you say, well, mine, you smoke cigarettes, you can get cancer from smoking cigarettes. I ain't gonna get cancer. It's okay, I can smoke, but I don't want you to smoke because you might get cancer. That's not fair. If I'm setting an example, I'm supposed to lead by example. So that's what you thought you were doing. Not to say that you did anything wrong. Remember when you realized, you said, I was just trying to protect him from the old me. And there wasn't nothing wrong with that. It's just showing how much you love him. I mean, from what I saw, I didn't see that you did anything wrong. I just felt like you just need to soften up a little bit. I mean, and that's it. So it was all about the communication. So I just feel like two parents, when it comes to co-parenting and a child, I think it's best. You need to be on one accord. But then it's kind of hard if you do something here and you go home and you say he's punished, and then he's young and you get ready to go somewhere and you say, oh no, he's punished, he can't go outside, but you can't punish him in my house. I mean, it's going to be some consequences to it, but that's when the communication come in. And when you're not on one accord, sometimes that's how everybody ends up downtown for child support.
Yeah, that's true. Now, that brings up a good point. When we can't communicate on things, when we can't talk about certain things, okay? You see, y'all don't want to always hear about my saga. I want to hear about your saga and what went on with you and how you got through it or how you're trying to get through it, okay? Like, with our program, we talk to the fathers. We have them put together their plan. We have them say what's going on. And they ask us, well, what can we do? Well, what can I do? Okay. Basically, you can put together your plan. You can put together how you want things to go, and you can take it downtown and follow it. Okay. Let me tell you this. The court system and the family courts are so backed up. Okay. I have to be honest with some fathers. I want you to look at not getting a court case for 2 to 3 months. And within 2 to 3 months, anything can happen. Okay? She could, and let's be honest, she or he can try to duck you out. She or he can move. All right? I was down the courthouse for my case the other day. And I heard there was a lady in there. She was really upset. How are they going to allow her to take this child away? We can't see him. We can't do this. We can't do that. I just had to step aside, pull her to the side, and say, ma'am, there's a process where you can find out where she is. Okay? I had somebody do it for me. It's called skip tracing. Okay? That's all you got to do.
Is that legal?
It's legal.
Mm-hmm. But what if you're not supposed to know where they live? If they don't want you to know where they live?
Okay, if they don't, hold up. Let's be honest. They may not want you to know where they live. Okay? However, it's not in the court order to say that you can't see them or you can't be there. All right? Only thing that can happen is once you say it and it's on paper. All right? My child's mother can say, well, I don't want you there. Okay, you can say that all you want. But until you say something to see me, that my child is going to see me. All right? Y'all know, or not y'all, you know how I was. Okay? Going to the school. I was active in the school. Hold on, I got a caller. Hello?
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
So I am listening to you guys' show, and I'm glad that usually I listen to your show, and I'm glad your wife joined you today. Hi, Adrian.
Hi. Who am I speaking with?
This is Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for calling.
Yes, so I have a question because I have friends. So I don't have kids, but I have friends who are actually in the process of dealing with or trying to co-parent with their children's father. And it seems like sometimes that struggle is so very hard for mom and dad to realize it's not about them and it's about the kids. So what would be your suggestion in reference to trying to help parents realize that it's not about them, but it's, at the end of the day, it has to be about the welfare of the child?
Okay, that's what I talk about the program on Greenmount Avenue here in Baltimore City. It's called Community Mediation. Okay, where they talk with somebody in a room, and they air out those differences. They air out what's going on, and they talk about it. They don't yell at each other, but they have to get to a point to where they feel as though they can talk about it respectfully. They can communicate about this. Okay, that's the biggest issue with a lot of parents here in Maryland and parents everywhere. All right, they feel like they can't talk to the other parent. Okay, however, and I'm gonna go off my situation with this. You got to put your feelings in your back pocket and realize it's for that child. It's for those children. If you can't, then you get what you get. All right? Because you're there to help this child or those children come up. How can they come up if they always seeing you bickering with the other parent? How can they always come up respectfully if they always see you demeaning the other parent? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So basically, you have to the parents first have to get to a point to whereas they feel as though they can talk to each other, they can just communicate openly and honest. And sometimes, and I'm have to be honest, you got to pray about that situation because sometimes that parent may say something that's going to trigger you. You just have to bite your tongue and let it go and just say, this is for my child. This is so I can see my child. This is so we can move on. Now, let's be honest. Seriously, come on. Let's be honest. Sometimes they'll use that as a ploy against you until they get what they want. And then I'm sorry to say, that's when you keep all the documentation, like Norman, because Norman, my friend from Norman, called Norman Nix, the Norman Nix Show on YouTube, tells you how women do, how fathers do. Okay, he has a book where he writes down everything that goes on, and that's what the parents have to learn how to do. They have to learn how to document. They have to learn how to write stuff down because if it doesn't work out and they have to go to court, that judge or that magistrate is going to ask, well, what happened when? You can't just come here and tell me stuff off the blue. And basically, that's how it is. If you have written documentation of when it happened and what happened, your process is easier. I hope that answered your question, Nicole.
Yes, it does. It definitely helps to give me something to give to them because I just feel like at the end of the day, we just have to realize that it's what's best for the child. It can't be about the parent. I will give my mother credit that she never bad talked to my dad. Now, as I got older, I saw some of the things that my dad, didn't keep promises on. But, I always gave her credit. She never talked bad about my dad. Well, I'll say in front of me. But, she always at least allowed me to have that image of him as being, my daddy, my savior, my hero, and everything like that. And I just think it's sad how we've gotten away from that in the society now. We want to post everything on Facebook, on Instagram. Everything is not for that. And at the end of the day, the child is the one that suffers. So, but I thank you guys for having this show and for talking about this tonight because, it's a conversation that really needs to be had, and that, maybe it'll help some other people.
Okay. Thank you.
Nicole.
All right. Thank you.
And what she said was right. Okay. It's not always about that Facebook. It's not always about posting them on Instagram. Adrian is looking at me because when I used to, when I was going through things,
Social media.
Social media became my
platform.
Was my platform,
and that wasn't a place for it. It should be private. I mean, we all have to understand that these kids can get a hold of this stuff. I mean, people take pictures, and then they stay text and they send them. They send your whole conversation. I'm very protective of my kids. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. But one thing I have learned, if things are right or things are wrong, kids are going to have their own opinion. And in order for things to work as far as co-parenting, both parents have to learn how to be humble. And like you said, and like I always say, you have to get out your own way. You have to put your feelings aside. This person may have hurt you down to your soul, but at the end of the day, it's still their parent. You still had a child with them. They still have rights and you have rights. And if you don't want to end up in court, try to find somebody who can mediate for y'all. Say, well, you know what? I don't even want to see that person, but I'd be willing to drop them off at the grandmother's house. We can drop off and meet there, or just have a place where it's okay. We can meet at the McDonald's. I'll be sitting inside, you sit in the parking lot, and vice versa. When it's time to drop them off, do whatever it takes before it can get to the courts. I'm not gonna say I'm all against the courts, but if you can work it out, work it out.
I'm gonna go back to that. I got a caller. Hello. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry, I had to turn on the live with feedback.
Okay. What's your question?
My name's Danielle. I'm actually, I sat on one of your panels before with a gentleman that's doing an appeal. And I was just kind of listening to some of the conversation, and the previous caller had mentioned, her friend trying to work out with co-parenting. And that's a situation that I've been going through myself the past 3.5 years. And a lot of people think that it is the father that is the one that struggles with the custody and all that stuff. For me, when my ex-husband left in 2018, he moved in with his mistress, who keeps him from co-parenting with me. Mm-hmm. Our son just turned 13 on Sunday. For these past several years, she's under the impression, and he listens to her, that our son is old enough to make decisions for himself and to communicate himself. So currently, my son is with his father for the week in another state, and is doing things like trying to change our meeting date, our meeting time, trying to keep him an extra week, where our son tracks out. Like in North Carolina, they have some school that students are in school for 9 weeks and then out for 3 weeks, which is why he's with his father now. So I'm being accused of keeping our son from him because his father goes back to work on Monday. His mistress, his now fiance, has a 27-year-old son who comes in and out the house freely. That means my son will be left alone in this home by himself with this man coming freely. How do I, and we have nothing through the courts. I never put him on child support. I never did custody. It was, we can do this and work it out ourselves. He put himself on child support. And then appealed it because he didn't like the decision that was made. So I guess my question then is, how do I go about this with our son being left, his father away from his home, and there's this 27-year-old man who comes and goes as freely as he wants to, which concerns me.
Okay, so basically, let me hit one point at one time. How do you deal with this? All right, I'm gonna deal with it on several points. All right, the first point, like I said, the first two before we started, document when you try to talk with him, or document when you send him a certified letter about what needs to go on. I'm sorry, my wife knows. I'll letter you to death. I'll keep my text messages from years. Okay, so basically, because it holds up in court if it has to get that far. So you document when you try to reach out to him. You document what's going on when. All right. If he says that he's going to meet, then let's meet. Try reaching out to him by phone first, so he doesn't feel like it's something that's about to go on. And you know what? That mistress needs to know her role. Stand back.
First of all, it may be his mistress, but you gotta sometimes, we have to bend a little bit. Just say his significant other, because listening to you speak, and I'm not siding, I'm just in the middle trying to help you out. Hopefully he's with this woman and he can trust this woman. But I understand what you're saying. Well, his mistress is keeping him away. No, he's keeping himself away because this is his son. It's not her son. So he should be the one leading and guiding and saying certain things, and she should be right there by his side. I understand that it's not his wife, and I understand that it makes you feel some kind of way. However, when you go into the courts, you don't want to go in there and say, if you decide his mistress, you can say his significant other or his better half. I understand that there's some feelings there, but when you go in there and they can already tell that you're feeling some kind of way about this situation, then that'll make you look some kind of way. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay. Go
ahead, Rob.
How you doing? I just wanted to say some things, especially stepping into the situation you're about to step into. When you're going into the courts, the last thing you want to do is point out what he's doing wrong. So often we want to show everything that they're doing wrong and talk about everything that we're doing right. When you do that, that's not showing you as someone that's willing to compromise. And the courts are going to instantly side with him because they're going to see you as the aggressor because you're trying to point out everything he's doing wrong. What I would do, I would just point out all the situations that's best for the child, that's created by me. I wouldn't make an emphasis on everything he's doing wrong, like him leaving the child in the house with the 27-year-old or, the situation with his current fiance now. I wouldn't even try to bring that up because what brings it up is it's going to show that you're spending more time worrying about his situation than you are worrying about the situation of the child. So as much as it hurt, and take it from someone that's going through it. I understand your pain and I understand what you're going through. But if you're going to play chess in a situation, strengthen your case about what's best for the child and the better situation for the child, and try to get away from all of everything that's going to be bad for the child that's caused by the dad.
Oh, I'm going to go back to
I got you. And I mean, I would love to be able to highlight the positive. I have to make him get his son, to get our son. So that's kind of where that is. And I understand what Adrian was saying, instead of highlighting and that the mistress is not the fiance, because he's the fiance now, is not keeping him away. He's keeping him away. And I completely understand, because I do when I speak to him, because it kind of flips back and forth. He'll call me like every day complaining about her, and then he won't speak to me if she's around, if she's angry and hostile and all that kind of thing. But I hear what you're saying. I will do my best to try to highlight and find the positive points, because they're very difficult to find. Okay. Everything is kind of, and which is why I think I'm leaning towards the going ahead and actually having, visitation and custody and all that officially, because of the simple fact that I'm the one saying, hey, here's the school schedule, here's his activity schedule, when do you want them? Like, I'll meet you at our usual spot. When do you want them? When do you want them? When do you want them? And there's always a reason as to why not. I guess that's the hardest part for me, with our son just turning 13 and needing his father. I've never kept him from him, and I'm begging him to get to see him and spend time with him. So do you think if you have to constantly keep asking him when is he going to get him, if that's best for your son? Because just think about it, if I have to keep begging you as to when you're going to get him, then it's almost like he doesn't want to get him. So does that mean when he gets there, is he's going to get the attention that he deserves? Sometimes it's just a way of protection. Maybe it's not the right time for him to go. When your son is old enough to make that decision, maybe 15, 16, he said, well, I want to go over dad's house.
And then he goes, and it may be a time he don't want to be there. Well, I went and I don't want to go back, or I'm ready to go. Have you talked to him about that relationship with the 27-year-old? Does your son like to be around him? Is he popping in and out to check on him? Because I do know at 13 years old, they can be left alone for quite some time. Is your son responsible enough to be by himself? Are you okay with him in his dad's home by himself? Y'all should be communicating that opposed to him calling you, telling you about his better half. Limit the conversation. When he calls you to tell you about her, make it strictly about your son. In a nice way.
I have a question. I have a question real quick, if you don't mind. What is the actual visitation agreement that you and him have right now?
The visitation, what I'm trying, he can, honestly, I am extremely flexible. Whenever you want him, like I've even given the example, I'm like, and I know this is extreme, but I've given the example to state my point, which is, if you had a month off from work and you decided to come to Raleigh and stay in an Airbnb for 30 days, he can stay with you for those 30 days. But there's things that he still has to do, like making sure he gets to school and things of that nature. But I'm like, I have no restrictions on it. So right now, he's, like I said, he was, the agreement was picking him up this coming Saturday. Then it was changed. Can we do Sunday? Then it was, I want to keep him an additional week. Then it was, can we do, it just keeps changing. And now it's like 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And I'm like, well, I'm driving to Baltimore at the end of the month. He can come with you for that weekend. He can also come with you Thanksgiving. And he's like, oh, we'll see about those dates.
All right, so
when I say I'm extremely flexible, I'm like, we can do this whenever. Our halfway point is an hour and 45 minutes. It's not that drastic.
But let's think about this for a second, because you're saying you're in North Carolina, correct?
Correct.
And he's in Baltimore.
And he's in Virginia.
Oh, he's in Virginia, not Baltimore.
He's in Virginia. We're 3.5 hours apart. So it's an hour and 45 to the midpoint.
Okay. Just as a suggestion, it might be a little bit better if you and him came with a more standard schedule, like maybe him every other weekend, and then times in the summer. The reason why I'm saying with there not being any structured days in place, schedules fluctuate, things like that. Whereas if you and him come to an agreement and say, well, we know every other weekend I'm either going to bring him to Virginia or you're going to come to North Carolina to get him or spend time with him, it makes it a little bit easier to plan your schedules, and it kind of allows you to prepare for the unknown popping up. And it might give you a little bit more stability, not being on his side, but being devil's advocate. It's possible that he's saying, okay, I want to get my son Saturday, and the day be Tuesday, and then he finds out Thursday he has to work Saturday or something comes up. But if he knows going in every other Saturday or the second and fourth Saturday of every month, I have my son, he can kind of plan it out a little bit better. You follow me?
But did you hear she said that he doesn't always follow through. He changes things.
Right, but what I'm saying is if it was a little bit more structured, right now we can't really blame him because it's like it's up in the air.
What structure is he going to follow? If he
There's
can't,
nothing put in place.
Right. If he's not doing it right now.
But what I'm saying is
he's not going to do the structured.
There
I'm telling him whenever you want, not on my schedule, but whenever you want. The only thing that goes on my schedule is us agreeing on a meeting day and time. But if he says, hey, there's a family function going on in 2 weeks, can I get him? Okay, sure, let me see what's going on. No problem, here you go. We're down to the point that he gets the school alert, but he contacts me to find out when our son tracks out, So I'm like, well, check the schedule. He's getting married in June. I said, I know you want him there. You're going to want him there days beforehand. Have you checked the school schedule before you guys set a date? He said, no, I'm going to set a date, and then I'll figure it out after the fact. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's make this work.
All right.
So I'm not controlling it. I'm giving free reign. And I guess it sounded like I should not give free reign and give him the option.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing. And I may be hearing it wrong. So.
And then in some instances, it sounds like, honestly, like maybe you do need to take it to the courts. However, I remember, I'm going to say this. I'm just going to go ahead out here and say it. My mother used to say, it sounds like you want this more than the kids. You understand what I'm saying? And it's okay.
You said more than my kid does? You said I'm more than my kid?
No, I'm like you want him to be with him more than your son. I'm saying that because of my own situation. I'm just being totally transparent.
Oh.
And my mother used to say to me, it'll fall in place, just leave it alone. I know that I wanted things in place because of my own personal situation. My dad passed away. So it was important for my kids to have this relationship with their dad. However, not forcing it, if that makes sense. If he doesn't call this week, and say, well, this is my week and I'm going to get him, then that's on him. Baby, your dad didn't call. If your son want to call him, because at the end of the day, they're going to figure out on their own and they're going to form their own opinion. Not to make anybody look bad, but sometimes one parent mature faster than the other. And I'm not trying to bash anybody, but sometimes one go up 10 more levels and the other one's still down here. Sometimes it's even hard for them to be on an even playing field, but we have to get to that point where we're not forcing anything. So for me, it didn't work to go into the court systems. You just let things, kind of fall in place organically, and kids will start to form their own opinion because all it's doing is stressing you out. You understand what I'm saying? Like just trying to make things easier for you, and you sitting here and you going through, and 9 times out of 10, the child is on a video game or doing something else playing, ain't even worried about it. Sometimes, right?
Okay.
So I mean, that's the best advice that I can give you, and that's kind of like, I may get in trouble with this, kind of like my own personal experience. However, it is what it is. For my own personal experience, like I said, my mother used to say that to me all the time, and it didn't click until later. And I think a lot of times when it comes to certain situations, our feelings are still involved, because of her. No, it's not because of her. This is his son. I feel like if you're a woman and you're a good woman, whether you have kids or not, and he has kids, you're going to encourage him to do right. And then you're going to want to establish a relationship with this woman so y'all can communicate, because at the end of the day, then y'all become one whole village. If he can't come through, then baby, I need you to step in for me, and she'll step in. So, a thing for me was, well, let's meet whoever you choose to date, and they're going to be a part of my kid's life. I want to meet them, and vice versa. When Eric and I started dating, it was important for my kids to meet their dad, for my kid's dad to meet Eric, because I didn't want anybody running back to him, telling him, oh, I saw your kids with this man. And I know he's going to call me and say, well, Adrian, who my kids with? I wanted him to know, because at that time, it's no secret. I'm happy, just like I want him to be happy. If he's happy here and I'm happy here, we're going to be one big old happy family.
And that's exactly how I was raised. So, myself, so I truly appreciate it, and keep doing what y'all are doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
All right. So, y'all heard it. All right. Now, I said I was going to go back to several things. Okay. I tried it. Okay. I tried talking. I tried communicating. I tried just afterwards, Adrian, I try to let it go organically. Okay. But that was after I started. I was always trying to, quote unquote, make her do my way. Okay. Make her into what I wanted. We had a discussion the other night about how I would put him into certain sports. I would want her to take him on the days that he was with her.
You expected her to.
I expected her to.
But she told you, if you put him in basketball, it is up to you to get him back and forth there. And I totally agree. As for my situation, I knew that if I was putting him in something, that it was going to be pretty much all on me because of his work schedule and on an emergency basis. I was already committed to doing that. So that was not a problem for me. And it's never going to be a problem for me for what my kids want. I was always taught that you do what you have to do for yours, and when anybody else come along, it be extra on top. And that's just the way it is. So you can't expect if y'all don't get along, say, well, I'm putting him in basketball, here's the schedule. So when I have him this week, I'm taking him. And when you have him this week, you taking him. No, it's not going to work that way if y'all not on an even playing field. And you can't just make her do something. You don't know what her schedule looks like. Before you put him in this, you need to talk to her and communicate. Well, first of all, does he want to play the sport? And if he say, no, you can't force him. You want to put kids in something that they like. Okay, if he say, this is what I want to do. Okay, I'm paying for this. This is an investment for you and I. We're going to complete this. If you don't like it, you don't have to try it no more. But you're going to finish this out because I paid my money. So I'm going to talk to your mother first to see if she can help me out with getting you here. If she can't, then I have to figure something else out. But you can't go in there if y'all not getting along thinking that when I'm putting him in basketball and you have him on Wednesdays and Fridays, you need to take him. No, you don't know what her schedule look like. And let alone, she don't even like you, so you know she ain't going to help you.
True.
So that's when you calling up your family members, or you have that person who say, I don't mind, just reach out to me, or you start establishing a relationship with the coach. Once you get them there, I really want them to play, but I'm having a hard time with transportation. Then, you link up with the other parents, and then y'all help each other out. And before you know it, things will start going smoothly. However, just remember, when you putting them in something and y'all not getting along, it's all on you. It's all on you.
Now, I'm gonna go. The other thing I'm gonna go back to, the meeting place. Okay, having an agreed upon meeting place and trying to work it out that way. Now, I help a father out. I'm just helping a father out in Rochester, New York, with his case, and trying to put it together. Okay, he's telling me that the court had agreed to one meeting place, but then her attorney, her public defender, put in for another place, and he was like, "That's unfair. That's not right." Yes, it is. Okay, so basically, if I want fathers to know, please, and mothers too, please work it out. If you can't, there's always like a police department, McDonald's, or someplace where y'all can do an exchange. Here, not too long ago, a father went to drop his child off. The mother started acting irate. Yeah, in front of the Northwest Police District.
I thought that was a church. That was a church.
No, that was Northwest
Police.
Yes.
And she was intoxicated.
Yeah. So basically, I told him, like, listen, if you know this is going on, she not abiding by the court order, then your next best thing is to file an emergency petition. Okay? Because here in Maryland, and it may be like this in other states, it's called a pendulite motion. A pendulite motion helps you when it comes to trying to prove that something is going wrong, something is not right, and you want things to be changed or you want things to be different because it messes with the relationship with the child. Okay? Here, she was totally, and you saw it, she was totally under the influence. Okay? How many times has she ever been like that and he didn't see it? Okay? And then it comes to the fact of the child was in the car. The child is seeing this. Okay? So, and I know the show is about the mother's perspective, but is that right? Okay, for her to come in there or try to be under the influence and just run buck wild with it. Okay, so a lot of times we have to, as parents, and I'm gonna say it again, as parents, we have to realize how we are acting, how we are doing things, how we're putting it out there. Okay.
And what we're saying in front of the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I try to talk to fathers, and what I did with the email that I was sending last night when I was downstairs for till 11 o'clock, to the legislatures of the Judiciary Committee and the Judicial Committee on the Maryland legislative districts. I asked them, I'm like, why is it like this? Why is it that the courts or there's a delegate out in Howard County trying to take out the best interest of the child. Okay, if you take out the best interest of the child, and the judges are already giving custody to the mother, okay, that sort of is a double negative. All right. Instead of letting the parents work it out, here is the lawmakers in the state of Maryland are putting it in already that sole custody goes to the mother. Okay. And let's be honest, some mothers, even though some fathers' actions aren't the best. Okay. If you get the child, you're leaving the child with Tom, Dick, and Harry. All right, or you're leaving them with Jane and Joyce. Okay, seriously, and you're not there taking care of the child. Okay, I know when my child was coming up, I was working at the nightclubs. Okay, and if I was getting off we closed at 5:00. Okay, if I was getting off at 5:00, I was sort of tired. Okay, and I had my child. So basically, I couldn't always be there for her. I had to let her mother know that I was there. Go ahead. I have another caller. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, this is Madam Corey. How you doing?
Hey, Corey, how you doing?
Good.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, Adrian.
What's up, Corey? What do you got to say?
So one of the things that I kind of observed is that the realistic part is that you become involved with two people become involved, and ultimately the relationship ended, and also having the result of a child being produced. My opinion is that if you can identify the shortcomings of the other person from the relationship, and to be able to understand that some of those same shortcomings may trickle down into parenting, it helps to give an awareness in regards to the style of parenting that particular two people may come about with. Some parents do change because children can change people where they understand that their lives are just not their own. However, I think that it would be great that when two people come together into the system and go to court, things like that they should offer some type of counseling just to get some kind of awareness and some kind of help for each parent to kind of get whatever they have going on, also some help for them. But ultimately, have the goal of becoming two parents that are more focused on the child in a sense and being able to alleviate their shortcomings in regards to raising the child.
True.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you think about it, the previous young lady, and the things that were suggested to her, when you can kind of hear the infection from the relationship trickle down to who was doing what, other than the focus on, like was suggested. Look at what's best for the child. One of the things that I agree with Rock is if you give a small portion of stability let's try this out for a small short of time. Give the father some set days so he can learn to get into the parenting, because ultimately those two have not raised that particular child before. It's all new. So give some structure in a small sense to allow error, and then continue to keep coming back to the table to say, hey, this didn't work, so what can we do better? And like it was suggested, eliminate all the other stuff and let's just focus on the child.
Thank you.
I agree with everything that you're saying, Corey. However, look at it this way as well. Okay, she has to point out all the right things that he's doing, in order for him to feel some kind of way and for them to agree, come to some type of common ground. But your whole conversation to me takes it back to last week when it says mothers are obligated and fathers are privileged. Not all, but again, she has to wait for him to try to figure things out. Is that fair? Is it fair? Is it fair for her to have to wait for him to figure it out? In the midst of him trying to wait, you wait for him to figure it out. The child 15, you got 3 more years left. And I mean, vice versa. It could be the same way for the mother. But at the end of the day, why I gotta wait for you to figure it out? You know what I'm saying? We had this baby together. So the minute things start spiraling out of control, I feel like either you're gonna be all the way in or you're gonna be all the way out. Or is it just gonna be half the money and half the time? Or is it gonna be all the money in no time?
Thank you.
Did she get disconnected?
Yeah, she had the call drop.
Oh, okay.
Now, within the last 4 minutes of this show, let me say something. Okay, and you said something that's key, Adrian, about him getting to that certain point,
Or her.
or her getting to that certain point in their lives. All right.
100%.
You have
And
to.
I also agree with something else that you said, Adrian, in regards to the parents and the parents. I was with my ex-husband and did the exact same thing. I had to meet the girl's mom, my stepdaughter's mom, our mom, to let her know that we are village. We are going to do this thing together. And she lived in Indiana.
Okay.
So traveling back and forth with the girls, that's a big thing, you know.
Okay.
Let me tell you, parenting, it can be complicated, but let me tell you something. A blended family,
Oh boy.
you should start off with counseling first. It's very challenging. It can be very challenging depending upon. She fell again. Well, I'm gonna keep on talking. It can be very challenging depending upon what you're walking into. You know, sometimes we walk in things and we think we're a fixer, you know, and I can go in here and I can straighten this out. But sometimes some things is just so far gone out of control. It's nothing you can do but just sit back and stand on the side, you know, especially when you know the type of person that you are. A blended family, it takes the wind out of you. But however, I've seen some cases where it's just wonderful. They do everything together. If it's the child's birthday, then we all going out. The mother, her husband or her boyfriend, the father, his wife or his girlfriend, sometimes even the extended grandmother. It works. It works for some people. And for some people, you just can't come to a common ground. You just can't. So you have to do things separately, you know. But I wish other people called in and could help us out, because I know that it's not only 3 of us or 3 people that called in that are going through some things or understand how it is. Hopefully next week, you know, people will dial in and give us their opinions. I mean, we can talk about this topic again, because it's just lets us know that we're not alone in this situation. It lets you know that you're not alone in this situation, and it's somebody out here, man or woman, who's going through the same thing that you're going through and just needs some help on navigating through this situation, because everything does not always have to end in child support or court. Because he's mad or she's mad, we attack the pockets, or he's mad or she's mad and we got to go to court. You know, we should be mature enough to be able to talk about it. And in a perfect world.
And within the last 2 minutes, that's what I offer to the fathers. I say
that's what you are.
That's what we offer. I'm sorry. Thank you. That's what we offer. We tell them to go to the community mediation. We put it out there for them to go to community mediation, and they give you 2 sessions. Okay, they give you 2 sessions, and it's like only a third of what the courts charge you. Okay, so I try to encourage fathers to try to do it that way, but they say, man, it's too far gone. All right, but within the last minute of the show, let me say this. Both parents have to grow up. Both parents have to be on one accord for that child, for those children. Therefore, look at what you're trying to do. Look at how it's being done. And if you have questions, before you go to anybody else, go to him. And trust me, before you get in bed, ask him, talk to me through my soul. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Let me know how to talk to this person so we can stop bickering all the time. With that being said, everybody, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back to you next week.
Have a good night.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and slip out for beer during the commercial.
I'm sorry.
You will not be accelerated.
Joke.
Very slow.
Yeah, since I got dragged in. How you doing? I got dragged in.
What's going on?
How you feeling, man? Tired as hell, but I'm good. I'm hitting the road as soon as I finish the show.
To the people in Minnesota, the people that cried out, I can't breathe.
Because I had to do that show.
From a corner in New York City to the streets of Atlanta,
Yeah, so I had to do that show anyway. So
I can't breathe.
I just wanted to make sure that you were going to come. That's all.